asked the court for answers and threatened a congressional probe. This week, the Supreme Court's lawyer, yes, they have their own counsel, forcefully dismissed those ethical questions. The letter begins saying Alito and his wife say they didn't tell anyone about the outcome of that 2014 case. Later, it says there's nothing to suggest Alito's actions violated ethics standards. One of the concerns raised was that a group of wealthy conservatives were able to essentially buy access to the justices and wine and dine them to help build relationships.
It's not simply that these people are wealthy and they have access, but for most ordinary Americans, the work of the court was incredibly inaccessible until the pandemic, when the court began live streaming audio of oral arguments. Otherwise, you had to go down there, you had to wait in line to get in, unless you knew the justices and they would give you their seats. No one has this kind of access to the court, but these donors did.
Now moving on to another legal loss for former President Trump. A federal appeals court is stopping the special master's review of the documents that the FBI seized from Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. It comes as the Justice Department looks into whether the former president mishandled government records. The special master was appointed to determine which records, if any, should be off limits to investigators. And the appeals court explained that it cannot block a government investigation after the proper execution of a search warrant. And the House Ways and Means Committee now has 6 years of Donald Trump's taxes. The Supreme Court paved the way for the committee to get them after a 3-year court battle. The problem is Democrats only have about a month before Republicans take over the House. And what's unclear is if a month is enough time for the committee to evaluate and make any referrals to the Justice Department if there's reason for that. And on a lighter note, it's Jack Daniel's whiskey against the maker of a squeaky dog toy. The Supreme Court is going to hear a case of Jack Daniel's suing over what they say is a trademark violation made by a dog toy that looks similar to the Jack Daniel's bottle. The toy maker is VIP Products out of Arizona. The company believes it has the First Amendment right to parody the famous whiskey bottle.
You can see T-shirts that are glamorizing blacking out or using alcohol as a form of mental health treatment. These are all things that we work very hard to not promote with our products.
Well, it's a very conservative court that we have right now, so there is a good chance that they will side with the corporation.
The lead attorney for Jack Daniel's said everyone likes a good joke, but if the toy maker is allowed to confuse consumers with its dog toys, then, quote, other funny infringers can do the same thing. The court will hear oral arguments likely this term, but sometime next year in that case. And the U.S. Senate has passed the Respect for Marriage Act. The legislation will ensure same-sex and interracial marriages are enshrined in federal law and protected by the federal government. The bill was proposed after the Supreme Court struck down Roe v. Wade, which is when Justice Thomas said that the marriage equality case needed a second look. The Senate's version contains a few amendments, which means it has to go back to the House for a vote first. And this week,